Good evening. Welcome to the Freediving and Spearfishing Tips channel. Tonight we have an evening with Ben Eckert. I thought I'd put that one in early.
Thank you. I like it. On the couch with Ben Eckert.
Oh, yeah.
This might be a different interview than what I was expecting.
Yeah, could be different than what I was expecting. Okay, Ben Eckert, this weekend just passed, equaled the Australian national record for dynamic. Well, what is dynamic?
So dynamic is a pool freediving discipline where you swim the distance in the pool using a monofin, usually a monofin in a traditional dolphin kick.
Okay, and how far did you swim?
I swam 218 metres. It was actually 218.7. But it gets rounded down in freediving competitions. So I was 30 centimetres short from breaking the record. Breaking the record.
Yeah, that's great. Now, what is the difference between dynamic and dynamic bifins?
So they stem from the traditional dynamic discipline. So up until a few years ago, there was only the one dynamic discipline, and you could swim that using a monofin, or you could swim that using bifins. And a couple of years ago, they split the discipline. So the dynamic bifins was its own event. The difference being bifins using the traditional fins, or some people frustratingly call them flippers, in a scissor kick motion. With the dynamic now more often competed under using a monofin with a traditional dolphin kick.
Gotcha. Yep. All right, Ben, how long have you been freediving?
That's a bit of a tough one. I've been spearfishing for probably over 20 years now, but it was only about 5 or 6 years ago that I started, I guess, what you call freediving. For me, then it was just about practicing in the pool for spearing.
Yep.
And I really enjoyed it, and then that morphed into taking it a little bit more seriously. And in the last few years, I've started competing in the freediving side of it as well.
Yeah, good, excellent. So, have you had any other national records?
I have. I've held a couple of national records in the bifin category for Australia. And that's that's a discipline I'm far more comfortable with, and one that I would traditionally compete in. It's only in the last couple of weeks I thought I'd have a crack with the monofin and dynamic.
So you haven't been using the monofin very long?
Not very long, no. I've only done a couple of big swims in it, but I have played around with the monofin probably on and off for the last 12 months. But I did decide early this year that I'd exclusively train in the lead up to these comps in monofin and do a competition swim in a mono. Yep.
Now tell me, is it true that you're well known as the pool king?
No, it's not true. A couple of my mates, I do ask them to refer to me as that, though.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah.
So tell me, what's the connection that you've found between freediving and spearfishing?
Look, I think the obvious one is the breath hold. The freediving aspect is a big part of spearfishing, and hence why it's there's such a strong correlation. And what attracted me to the freediving side was just practicing that breath hold. But I think with both freediving and spearfishing, there's a lot of really almost competing with yourself. Whether it be for a fish or to get that little bit more depth than what you got last time. And that's the same in the pool with freediving. It's that's what I seem to love most about it, is that every time you swim, the only person you're competing against is yourself.
I gotcha. Has the freediving training helped your spearfishing?
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's helped in a number of ways. I think, first of all, it's made me a far safer spearfisher, which has been really good. I think it's definitely helped, my bottom time and my breath hold and depth. But I think more importantly, what it's done is it's helped me be far more aware of what my limitations are and what my body's telling me. I think the benefit of, training freediving, particularly in the pool, is having that, controlled, safe environment that you can really push your limits, which helps you better identify when you're nearing your limits. I think that's probably the biggest benefit and the biggest help to me, because it helps you, when you're spearfishing, be a bit more comfortable being uncomfortable underwater, and knowing that, that urge to breathe is just that CO2 buildup. It's not necessarily an indication that you need air, but absolutely being able to recognise when that point is.
Yeah, good point. So what sort of training do you do that brings you to the level where you actually, this 218, that's the first time it's been swum on Australian soil?
Yes, it is. Yeah, so Tank, who also holds the record and has held it for, I think, about 10 years now. I think he did that in the US because he's a US-based freediver. Look, my training, I don't train as much as I'd like to. I've got a newborn and a 3-year-old, and I travel a lot for work. So these days, particularly in the last probably 6 to 9 months since we came out of COVID and could start training a bit more regularly again, for me it's been training a lot more smarter rather than harder, just because I haven't had the time. But I think what has really helped is years of not just the spearfishing, but then even quite a few years of freedive training, and getting a lot of volume in. So regular training, not necessarily big swims, but a lot of high volume swims, and I think that gives you a really good base. So when you're in the position I'm in now, you don't necessarily need to train really hard, but you just make the most of the few training sessions you do.
Yep, I got what you're saying there. Yep, makes sense. So tell me, what attracted you to competitions?
So what first attracted me to competitions was essentially to push myself and challenge myself. So I started training with the Bull Sharks probably 5 or 6 years ago when you first kicked it off as a training squad, and for quite a few years I was, as I mentioned, I was doing a lot of volume, not many big swims. The CO2 monster definitely would take hold of me, and I struggled to get past that for quite a few years. And then I saw a lot of the other guys progressing really well, and I thought, maybe if I sign up for a competition, it might force me to push my limits a bit and see what I'm capable of. So I did that with the 2019 Nationals. So I decided my first competition would be Nationals, and best thing I ever did, because that really forced me to see what I was capable of, and I started progressing quite quickly then, because again, it's not necessarily improving, but just testing where your limit is, and you test, go a little bit further each time.
Yep.
And then after that first competition, I was really hooked to the competitive side of it. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And what's the feel of the competitions? Well, I've done a couple of interviews, and people say that they love the actual atmosphere. Tell me about that.
So if you talk to me during a competition, I will probably say multiple times during the competition, why am I doing this? I hate competing. I'm never doing another one again, because just the nerves get to me. But once you complete your swim, especially if you complete a swim, you get a white card, and particularly if you've got something left in the tank, that's what brings you back. You're like, oh, that was amazing. Can't wait to the next one. So I think so. There's that, but definitely, I've played and competed in a lot of different sports, and I've never come across a sport like freediving that's just so supportive. Particularly an individual sport where you're competing against everyone else there, but the atmosphere and the culture of freediving, and I've found through the clubs and through through the sport as a whole in Australia, and then definitely at competitions, is it's just so supportive, and everyone gets a lot of joy out of seeing their friends and their fellow competitors do a really clean big swim. And I can definitely relate to that. I think I've probably enjoyed seeing some of my friends, achieve PBs and white cards and do some big swims far more than I've enjoyed my own results. It's it's a fantastic atmosphere.
It is. It's kind of like freediving is a sport where it's an individual sport, but it's actually a team sport because it takes a whole team to support the individual.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have the Nationals occurring this year.
Yep.
Yeah, in
hosted by the Bull Sharks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bull Sharks Freediving Club in Brisbane. Yeah. So it'd be good to have our other states' top divers up there. We're looking forward to seeing that.
I think we will. We haven't had a national competition in over 2 years now because of COVID. So I think everyone's really excited to have a nationals again. And I think the sport, from what I've seen, the sport has progressed significantly in Australia in the last 2 years. I think it's going to be a really exciting nationals comp because there's some pretty impressive divers around now and doing some, far bigger numbers that were swum at nationals in 2019. So
yeah, I think the 300 posted in Europe over the last few years has sort of made people realise that it's time to take another step.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you're going to be competing in the nationals then?
I will. I hope. Yeah. That's the plan.
I hope. Some nerves there?
No, I was going to say depending on the training ramp up. But
you're not going to have another child, are you?
No, it's just whether these two let me. But I'll definitely be there. Yeah, regardless of what kind of training program I've been able to complete. I'm looking forward to it. I've only 2019 nationals was my first comp and my last nationals, so I'm really excited to go to another one.
Great, good. Okay then. Now, probably since you've done the swim, you've had people wondering what you do that enabled you to be able to get to that level as being something that they want to, sort of aspire to do. What sort of training, what do you eat, what do you drink, sort of things like that. Mm-hmm. I'm just sort of thinking that it might be a good time now is to say that what's in that glass there.
Yeah, when we talk about diet, there's not much of it. It consists of beer and red wine and anything else I enjoy.
So this is 2013 Shiraz from your cellar.
It is, yes.
Yeah, so it's quite delicious, by the way.
Yeah, we've made a decent dent in it too.
Yeah.
Look, as I said, I don't have an ideal training. I don't have a lot of time to train, and so my ideal training program at the moment definitely isn't achievable. So what I've found in freediving is too, in the short amount of time that I've been doing it, is that everyone is so different and different things work for different people. It's quite, it's very individual.
Like there's not many people I know that on the way to a freediving competition has a cup of coffee.
Yeah. I can't go without. I try to reduce the amount of shots in that coffee. But,
only 6?
Yeah, including static. I probably should drop it out before my competition static holes. But
you better try it out before.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I figure I'd far rather not have a headache than and have my coffee than skip it altogether. I enjoy it too much.
I understand.
Look, no, I don't really have a diet. As I said, training is pretty inconsistent for me these days. It's not ideal, but personally, I don't work a lot of CO2 stuff. I tend to work on volume and O2.
You do a lot of big swims?
Not a lot, no. No, I tend to, as I said, volume of, bigger swims, but not big. I won't often do a lot of swims over 150.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I might do 1 or 2 leading up just to check in to see how I am, 175 or something like that. But I try to do a lot of volume, a lot of O2 work. I really enjoy the delays, the really slow swims. I like
just like the spearfishing ones.
Yeah.
The 2-minute delays are in a
terrible trios that you do. Love to hate them. So that's just that seems to work for me, and that's and I've found over the last couple of years I've moved a bit more towards enjoyable training sessions too. I mean, you've got to work hard, but I think enjoy what you do. There's not much point if you go into every training session anxious because of what you've set yourself.
Anxious and angry doesn't get you that far.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But as I said earlier, I think the having a really good base is, I think that's the key. Putting in some hours early on and not expecting too much from yourself.
Yeah, I remember Ant and I, when we got Sydney Freedivers going some years ago, 15 years ago or something like that. We just did huge amounts of volume, I mean, it wasn't unusual. One night I did 20 75s, it wasn't all big swims, but it was just kept on going. So when we get into in the bull shark, we've got one where we just make it so that we do a kilometre underwater in that evening. So you got an hour to get a kilometre done, and it doesn't matter whether you're doing it in 25 metres or 50 metres or 100 metres. A lot of the long-term players, they just go down, they do their 10 100s, and they go, I'm done. Time to go home.
I still do lots of those, lots of the 10 100s in a session, and that's all I'll do. So.
That's good. So tell me, what fins do you use?
I use, for my bifins, and that's probably my favourite discipline. I use penetrator fins.
Yep.
So I've been really lucky to have a few different pairs of penetrators, and worked with Larry, who runs Penetrator, to try out some prototype fins before he released his newest range, and I love them. So I've got a really super soft set of those, and I really enjoy swimming in those fins and use them for both spearing and pull.
Oh, do you use the same fins for both spearing and pull?
Yes. Yep, I do.
Good. Yeah, understand. And do you do nose clip and goggles or mask?
I use a mask.
Any reason?
Just because I'm comfortable. I get asked why I do certain things and why I use things all of the time.
Yeah.
And my answer is always I just do what makes me comfortable.
I've always done mask myself, but it was solely because I just wanted one action.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go boom boom,
That is handy. Yeah. I've just moved to using a nose clip for statics, which does make it easier for statics.
Yep. Meaning nose clip and no goggles?
Yeah, so I've just transitioned I did start with goggles and nose clip, and I've transitioned to nose clip only, and that's been really good.
Now, do you keep the nose clip on until you get out of the water? Do you pull it off before you come up?
No, I keep it on until I come out.
Yep.
Gotcha. But I still use a mask for dynamic. I've tried going to goggles and nose clip multiple times just because I figure there's got to be some benefit there.
The benefit is often mentioned is the fact that it kicks in your dive response harder because you've got all these nerves here exposed.
Yeah.
So I can understand that as well. I'm a bit with you on that one. I'm more comfortable in a mask. So I just forget it. And I think I've had one session where, or more than one actually, because I did do goggles and nose clip for a while, where I'd get one goggle filled with water. And the idea, when you get one goggle filled with water and it happens in 50 metres and you're actually doing a big swim, you want to sort of do over 150, that's a hassle.
Yeah, I'd come up.
It'd
give me an excuse.
Now, what about your monofin?
So I just got myself a monofin in anticipation for this comp, and I've got a gold fin.
Oh yeah.
I did try it. I had a secondhand Molchanov for a little bit. Look, I found that quite uncomfortable, and it was very soft.
Was the foot pocket uncomfortable, or it didn't suit your style, or what?
Probably a bit of both. The foot pocket, look, it wasn't made for me, so that makes a difference. They are a custom. The monofins tend to be pretty custom.
Yep.
I'll be the first to say I don't have great technique in any of my disciplines, particularly monofin. It was quite foreign to me, and I heard that a slightly stiffer fin hides bad technique. So I thought, I'll get a slightly stiffer fin. And the monofins are a little bit stiffer, but I really like it. The goldfin, yeah. I really like it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. I understand. Okay, now, for those people who are fairly new to freediving, what about the neck weight? You use this neck weight around your neck, and
yep.
You've got a particular one. What is it?
Yeah, so I use a neck weight called a lobster neck weight. They're not cheap, but you really don't need a neck weight like that for many years. And to be honest, most people you see competing have a homemade neck weight that's made from a tire inner tube that just clips and is full of lead shot.
Why do they have a neck weight and not just a weight round there?
Because most of your buoyancy comes from your upper body, because obviously your air is in your chest. So what you really want to do particularly when you're freediving, is be really neutrally buoyant and be able to keep a really nice streamlined position. By having a neck weight to counteract the buoyancy of your chest, helps bring your chest down a bit, so you're not swimming along, like that. And then quite often to balance that out. I guess it's personal preference, but a lot of the guys will wear a waist belt, a waist weight belt as well.
Yep.
To balance them out.
Yep.
But again, that depends on the kind of wetsuit you're using and how buoyant you are, and personal preference and that kind of thing. So. Yeah.
Now you contribute really well to the freediving. What would you call it? Brotherhood, community, sport. Yeah. In what ways?
So I'm a member of the Brisbane Bull Sharks. I'm president of the Brisbane Bull Sharks. I really, really enjoy what that brings in terms of getting involved in building the club and getting to know all the members and working closely with you as head coach. And for the last couple of years, I've also been on the board of the Australian Freediving Association as well, which I really enjoy. I just wanted to, I fell in love with the sport pretty quickly, and the culture of the sport, and I just wanted to be able to contribute a little bit. So when the opportunity came to join the AFA board, I jumped at that and just feel that I can, contribute in any way I can to continue growing the sport and supporting it.
So the Bull Sharks became a non-profit,
AFA affiliated
volunteer club registered in Australia as such.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was
a couple of years ago now. So I think we operated for quite a few years as a bit of a training squad under you, and then it grew so big that we kind of needed a little bit of structure. And
it was right. I think it hit one night. We hit the biggest night so far, which was before COVID, but it was the biggest night so far. I think it was 52 or 54 or something.
That one training session.
And we're like, what are we going to do with this? Because, did I have any admin? No. I just wanted to come along and coach, So at that point, I threw it open to the mainstay guys that were there and said, well, what do you want to do? And there was unanimous, form a club.
Yeah.
And it's been great ever since. We've got so many people so energetic about helping the club.
Yeah, really active, and not just in the club, but again in the sport. Helping out and volunteering at other comps and with other clubs.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. It's really good.
All right, and so we're getting close to the end of the interview now, but if you've got any message that you would like to say to the newer guys coming up the ranks, something that would sort of inspire them, perhaps?
Inspire them. Oh, I don't know how inspirational I can be. I feel like, to be honest, I'm a bit of a fraud having an interview on freediving. I'm a Spearo that had a crack at pool and really enjoyed it. But probably one bit of advice, particularly for the guys just getting into freediving and coming from spearing, is I'd really encourage you to have a crack at a comp, because it's so enjoyable, and it really pushes you just to challenge yourself and compete it with yourself and push your limits and see what you're capable of. And the feeling afterwards is, it's really great. And as we spoke about earlier, it's such a supportive culture and sport, and I've gotten a lot of enjoyment, particularly recently, encouraging a few of our new members to compete that never wanted to compete, and hearing them say, "Oh, I can't wait to the next one."
That's so good.
I think that's it's really great to see. So, I just encourage as many of particularly the new guys as possible to jump in and have a crack, particularly with nationals coming up. Nationals was my first competition. So anyone can join in, and it's probably the best competition to compete in for your first one as well.
That's fairly intimidating for them. Do you think? What do you feel about that? Do you think the guys are going to get intimidated by that?
They shouldn't. That's the thing. There's so many. There's people. You get a huge range of capabilities at nationals,
it is true.
And again, it's not an environment. You're not competing against anyone other than yourself. It's just an opportunity to push yourself.
And the way that you're so helped and encouraged and drilled and coached, and so you get so much sort of from the other members at the time.
Absolutely, and to be able to see, others, particularly, the top men and women competing, and seeing how they approach it and what they achieve, and then sometimes what they don't achieve. And it's, you realise that, you just never know what's going to happen in a comp too.
Yeah, it's true. You never know. Anyway, I'd like to congratulate you on your record. Well done.
Thank you, Wayne.
I'm expecting a bit more as the year goes by. And so anyway, all right. Thank you very much. See you in the pool.
See ya.